Greetings all. Welcome to the LC. I'm Marjah, and this is the final installment of the On the Brink series. We have so much to cover, and if you've been with us from the beginning, actually from episode 1, this has been quite the journey. We've talked about the root causes of how civilizations fall, and friends, I've said root causes. Economics is not a root cause. The civil wars are not a root cause. The root is really the core, and it's the reason behind the reason. We refuse to pay attention to how we are the cause of our own demise. We like to blame external causes, foreigners, and everything that has nothing to do with us. Friends, this isn't about society as much as it is about the individual failing to speak up. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about how we failed. Well, we've traded our sense of selfhood for the desire to fit in, to actually become part of some kind of group. And a lot of times this is a political group. It might be the Republicans. It might be the Democratic Socialists. It might be some other group. It might be you're part of the people of color group. You see where I'm going with this? We have essentially acquiesced to the demands of the most mentally unstable people in society, thus abandoning our own principles, those of us who have them, and sense of what we know to be right. And I consider that a compromise of integrity. The truth of the matter is that we have always done this. Mankind has always done this. The people of a society who are seemingly the most civilized always allow the uncivilized to take over at some point. They allow those who can't even meet their basic needs to tell them what to do. And in this current state of affairs, mentally ill people are allowed to say that they don't want to be medicated. They can reject treatment facilities and they're free to roam about. While the stupid advocates say that to institutionalize them is a violation of their rights because they can't consent. Well, those of us who are of sound mind, can you please tell me how a mentally ill or deranged individual can consent? I mean, that's the thing. That's what's interesting here. That's a contradiction. You're saying that they can't consent, but then you're allowing them to consent by saying, no, I don't want meds. I don't want to be institutionalized. I don't want whatever. This is some kind of sick, cruel joke. But how about this? These advocates are mentally ill, and so are the politicians who back them up. We can't blame the mentally ill and the criminally insane because they're sick. But those of us who clearly know what's happening and are standing back watching, we're not making demands, we're not in an uproar about the decline of our own neighborhood, schools, and even our government, we're a problem. Because we think that politicians will solve it. I always say this, politicians, they're out for themselves, most of them, unfortunately. I think they initially go into it for something good and they think they're going to make a change, but then they get in there and they realize that things don't work like that. And in order to keep their seat, they're willing to compromise their integrity. And we're seeing that every single day. And it's so sad. And so we put all of our eggs in one basket. We elect these politicians. They're supposed to represent us and do the right thing. And in the beginning, like I said, they seem to do it. But when it comes to keeping their seat, they'll do whatever they have to do, even if it means compromising their integrity. So we can perhaps think that a politician might solve these problems. Perhaps. Or maybe you don't have any faith in politicians at all. And you're saying, you know what? The society is falling apart. Civilization is collapsing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going off the grid. And that's an option, friends. That could work. Unfortunately, moral degradation is like a disease. It spreads. And with the proliferation of AI and social media, it is reaching our children and it's reaching them at astronomical rates. I mean, it's in the schools, it's in the media, and therefore it's with you wherever you may go. Now, of course, you have the option of really going off the grid. You can homeschool. You can, I don't know, go in some forest somewhere and just totally not be a part of society. You can do that. Again, that's an option. But I do have an argument for all of those who will want to write me a book or rebut me in a podcast. They'll say that I didn't cite specific examples of fallen civilizations and I didn't address the internal and external causes. And I have to say this, that's not my forte. I'm not a historian. If you're Carol Quigley, you can do that. If you know anything about Carol Quigley, he studied ancient civilizations and compared and contrasted their ascent and descent. And that allowed him to draw a lot of conclusions, and many of the conclusions that he did, and subsequently many others. And I'm not here to debunk his conclusions, or any other historians for that matter. What I'm here to do is provide the underlying reason for the decline of civilizations. And it's important to understand that it has to do with moral degradation, particularly the moral degradation of the individual. It is the failure of man to evolve spiritually from beast to a man. And I've briefly spoken about this. I haven't gone into it too much because it is highly involved about the developmental stages of man, that is. Because these stages have to do with man progressing from beast to man and eventually to that of the God in man or the God man, which is so loaded. But if you listen to me and you want to keep hearing me, we're going to get loaded. That's what we do. So that's a true thing I just told you about this progression, this evolution of mankind. And it's evidenced in the scriptures. Jesus was a God in man. He said that. But for some reason, Christians teach that he's the only one. Friends, he is the prototype. Jesus is who we all are meant to be at some point in our evolutionary development. Now, there were civilizations, very, very ancient civilizations, such as Atlantis, Mu, Tiwanaku, and ancient Egypt, which is not too old, actually. These civilizations fell due to man's moral decay. Of course, there was political corruption. Of course, there were wars. But you have to understand, what was the root of the political corruption in the wars? It went back to man. It went back to his moral decay, which translates to moral degradation. You see, economic problems are due to corruption, mismanagement, and mishandling of funds. If we look at what's happening in Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, there's a current threat of World War III with the Muslim world. Friends, we're always under that threat. And who do we blame for that? What is the cause of conflict and war? Well, it all points to man. Who else are we going to blame? Are we going to blame the environment, God, the animals? You see, what I don't understand is, how can you say you're a scientist of any kind, whether you're a social scientist, a botanist, an anthropologist, whatever, and you look at all of the evidence before you, everything you can find, yet you disconnect man as the source of his own problems and his downfall. Friends, there's evidence of man being the source of his own problems in the Bible. And I don't talk about the Bible that much on this podcast, but I need to talk about it now because the evidence is there. Now, the Bible cites several instances of decline, and the first is Egypt. It's in the Old Testament, in the very beginning, in the books of Moses. We know that Moses was the prophet hand selected by God to lead the Hebrews out of slavery, under the slavery, I should say, of the Egyptians. And God used Pharaoh's arrogance and stubbornness to actually set them free. Because you see, Pharaoh refused to stop pursuing the Hebrews. Even after all of the plagues, he finally said, let them go. They finally left. And at the very end, he changed his mind. And that was it for him. When he did that, he lost his life. Friends, that also happened to Saul. When he kept pursuing David, he lost his life because he wouldn't stop. Friends, this happened with the flood, Noah's Ark. They were warned in the very end. The prophet came, told them what would happen. There would be a great flood. They were singing and dancing, oblivious totally to what was going to be their demise. And another example is Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, fire rained down on them, and they continued to behave in their obscene, lewd, and perverse manner. In a perverse manner, they continued to do it. Hence, the word sodomize comes from Sodom. The evidence is there. Man is the agent of cause. He is the reason for his downfall. He is the reason why there is societal collapse. If you think that floods and fires and natural occurrences cause civilizations to fall, then you've learned nothing from my podcast. And you are a person who refuses to accept accountability, individual accountability, and to believe that man is accountable and is a master really over his own life and his self. Yes, his self. Not himself, his self, because the self is an entity. Now, of course, there is a such thing as climate change. I'm not saying there is not. But again, we have to understand that man is largely attributed to his environment while on the earth and all of the changes that occur within it. It all goes back to man's moral disposition. And this is truly profound, because what I'm telling you is that man, I said it before, are the masters of our own destiny. All external causes are governed by what lives in our heart. Therefore, if the heart is hardened and filled with vice, and I've said before, vice can also be synonymous with demons. The external world reflects it. Vices are man's demons. Peace becomes disorderly and chaotic. That's why volcanoes are erupting, the earth is shaking, and tidal waves are crashing. Friends, cyclones are spinning, waters are rising, and the sun is burning us up. Environmentalists like to blame climate change on external practices. Of course, those practices are because of man. It's something that we're doing. We're burning fossil fuels. Yes, they say that. But they're ignoring that the earth has been undergoing climate change since the dawn of its day. They act like they don't know that the earth has gone through ice ages. And I'm also seeing through that as well. And I've said many, many times that we live in this culture of do-gooders and moralists, and they always want to seem like they're in the right. So if they can vilify a certain group of people, then they can look like they are the ones who are doing the right thing. So a lot of these people are scientists, some of them are activists, or both. And they often take to the streets, they take to social media, and they just point the finger. But that's not even really important to me. What we really need to pay close attention to is their motives. And we know that climate change is big business. Electric cars, wind turbines, and solar panels. That's big money, friends. And they know that none of those products will actually combat climate change. The climate is going to change regardless. And they know it. But what better way to pitch electric cars if not for playing directly into human emotion and that desire to do good? You see, if you have an electric car and I don't, you can look down on me. You can say that I'm not for the environment. Friends, I've said so much about moralists and I don't really even want to go any more into it. Not now, but you get it. We have a society loaded with those who think that they are morally upright when they're really hypocrites who only care about appearances. Then there are those who truly recognize and can discern goodness and authenticity from evil, and these people are largely obscured because they say nothing candidly. They stand back and allow the mentally ill, morally debased, and corrupt simply run society. That's where we are, friends. And they're on their phones scrolling through X and they're saying, what's happening? Why is it like this? Why is London falling? Why is Canada falling? What's happening to Italy? Why are criminals taking over all major cities throughout the world? Why? Well, because civilization is crumbling due to degeneracy. That's the reason. And I ask all of you this. Do you want a civilized, high-trust society? If you do, tell people that if they do not follow the laws and adhere to high moral standards, they cannot live among you. But first, those standards must be clearly defined. And you define those standards based on the laws. And the laws must be followed. They must be implemented. They cannot be manipulated. So you have to elect politicians who are going to enforce the laws. Politicians do what the people want because they want to stay in office. If you get a politician in and that politician is ignoring the people, it's time to oust him. You see, there must be a place for the debased. They can't be permitted to live on the street, shooting drugs, defecating, and engaging in lewd and lascivious acts. Criminal activity must be punished stiffly. We can't have relaxed jail sentences and all of this non-cash bail foolishness. Criminals have to be put away. They have to get the message. They have to know we're not playing. If you're a parent, if you're a teacher, if you're a law enforcer, if you're a business owner, or even if you're a politician, you need to learn how to be stern. Now, of course, we live in a society where you can't be. Seemingly you can't be, because you can't speak to people with a sense of authority or some kind of I mean business attitude, because people nowadays are so mentally fragile. Oh my God, but we've made them this way, haven't we? People can't hear what they need to hear because they really can't bear to hear it. We've truly entered a time where everything, and I mean damn near everything you say, is an insult or it's rude or whatever. And people are coming at you and they're saying you're mean and you're hateful and it's so sickening. Political correctness has robbed all of us of our freedom to speak boldly and with authority because we're so afraid of offending people. Friends, I'm telling you, those days have got to be put behind us, and I'm guilty of it myself. I acquiesced, and I did so to maintain my employment. So for me, it wasn't necessarily about offending people. It was about my livelihood. However, I clearly understand how we got here. And I see that it's the fault of those who know what is right, but are failing to do what is right. And that includes myself. You see, friends, it's up to us. It's up to the righteous. It's up to the morally upright to speak up. Because if we don't do it, the morally debased, the fools, the people who are currently trying to run civilization will drag us down to the point of bestiality. We cannot allow it. We cannot go there. All of you out there, those of you who are listening, know what I'm saying is the truth, and that truth is ringing within you, in your soul, like a bell. And I really hope that this series has awakened you and has provided you with a sense of zeal and the inspiration to make small changes in what you say and do. If we do not garner the courage to use our God-given right to speak, we'll find ourselves in a world that is no longer free because we'll be subject to the debased and morally bankrupt. I can't say that enough. We're already getting a preview of that, especially those of us who live in the cities. Friends, people who live in the cities can't even walk the street without their head on a swivel. What do we do? Well, the first step is to speak, even if it's on your social media platform, even if it's at your job. Speak boldly what you think is wrong, what you don't. You have to do it because they're doing it. The other side is doing it. And they're not even in the right, but they're doing it anyway. It's time for some strength. It's time to be bold. It's time to speak up. Friends, when people are mentally imbalanced, they can't make sound decisions. They don't come to sound conclusions. They don't know what they're saying and what they're doing. I always say this, that people that are off, people that are crazy, they don't know that. It's up to us to set it straight, to speak with some sense. Friends, if you've learned something new from this series, and this has been quite the series, give me some feedback. I need it. It gives me an idea about what I should talk about next. Leave us a comment on some of our handles. We're on X, we're on Rumble, we're on Substack, we're on YouTube, and we are on Medium. I look forward to it.